Good morning, and welcome to World in 15, your trusted source for comprehensive coverage of today's most pressing events, delivered with accuracy, integrity, and insight.
Dozens reported killed in Israeli strike on Rafah. Dozens of people have been killed or injured in a blast at a refugee camp in the Rafah area, the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza has said. We shall be reporting on this.
Videos from the scene in the southern Gaza Strip showed a large explosion and intense fires burning. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, said it had targeted two senior Hamas leaders at one of the group's compounds and would review reports fire had spread to shelters, harming civilians. Hours earlier, Hamas had fired 8 rockets from Rafah towards Tel Aviv, the first long-range attacks on the city since January. The strike on Rafah came 2 days after the International Court of Justice ordered Israel to immediately halt its military operation in Rafah, where hundreds of thousands of civilians are still sheltering. In a statement released after the blast inside Gaza on Sunday night, the IDF said it had eliminated 2 senior Hamas figures, Yassin Rabia and Khaled Nagar, in a precise airstrike in northwest Rafah. The IDF said it had targeted Hamas militants with precision weapons. Hamas-run authorities said 35 people had been killed and dozens injured at a camp for displaced Palestinians northwest of Rafah, away from recent military operations in a designated humanitarian safe zone. It said women and children are among the dead. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
At dawn on Friday, April 12th, Israeli teenager Benjamin Achamir ventured out from his settler outpost in the occupied West Bank with a flock of sheep, only to disappear. We have Anthony reporting on this.
Achamir, aged 14, had been residing and working on a small farm outpost near his family's settlement, Melachai Hashalom, one of nearly 150 Israeli settlements in the West Bank considered illegal under international law. Tragically, Israeli police later confirmed that the young teenager was murdered that morning while out on the pasture. However, it took 24 hours before his body was discovered. When the flock of sheep returned to the farm without him, a massive search operation ensued involving the Israeli police, military, Air Force, intelligence services, and thousands of volunteers from the settler community. Despite the extensive efforts, some expressed dissatisfaction with the response. At 8:30 on Saturday, Elisha Yerd, a former spokesman for MP Limer Son Har-Melik and an extremist settler suspected in the murder of a Palestinian man the previous August, posted a message in a WhatsApp group for settlers. Shabbat Shalom. It read, "It's been nearly 24 hours of heavy suspicion that Benjamin was kidnapped from the pasture and still the obvious measures have not been taken." Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
When Nathan Wilkins moved back in with his mother and sister in 2019, he had hoped it would enable him to save money to buy a home. However, in the years since, the U.S. housing market has undergone significant changes due to rising rents, soaring home prices, and a substantial increase in mortgage rates, making homeownership appear increasingly unattainable. We have Jensen reporting on this.
Wilkins, a 32-year-old insurance adjuster from Utah, acknowledges that he and his sister are earning more than ever. Nevertheless, paying $2,500, £1,960 a month in rent leaves them with little to spare. "It's like I'm playing a game that you can't win," he laments. "The fact that we're being priced out just makes me want to throw up." Such sentiments are becoming more widespread, fueling discontent and contributing to the prevailing pessimism about the U.S. economy, which casts a shadow over the upcoming election. The median home sale price in the U.S. has surged by nearly 30% since the end of 2019, reaching $420,000 this spring. This leap is among the most dramatic globally, according to the International Monetary Fund. Furthermore, the increased costs stemming from higher interest rates are not factored in, with rates for the typical 30-year fixed-rate mortgage in the U.S. now standing at roughly 7%, up from about 3% in 2020. Today, home buyers typically require an annual income of over $100,000, well above the country's household median of about $75,000, to comfortably afford a home in most areas of the U.S. Research firms such as Zillow and Bankrate indicate that monthly payments have approximately doubled in just 4 years. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
In 2020, Danish antiquities dealer Dr. Itai Gradel started to suspect that an eBay seller he frequently bought from was actually stealing artifacts from the British Museum. More than 2 years later, the museum confirmed that thousands of objects were indeed missing, stolen, or damaged from its collection. The question remained, why did it take so long for the museum to acknowledge Dr. Gradel's concerns? We have Alana reporting on this.
The first hint came when Dr. Gradel noticed something unusual on eBay. A piece of a cameo gemstone depicting Priapus, the Greek god of fertility, was listed for sale by a user named Sultan1966 for a mere £40. Despite being taken down after a few hours without being sold, this listing caught Dr. Gradel's attention. With a keen eye and a photographic memory, Dr. Gradel recognized the gemstone from his own collection. He had purchased similar items from the same seller, who claimed to be named Paul Higgins and said he had inherited the gems from his grandfather. However, Dr. Gradel suspected that many of these gems were stolen due to their low prices and high value. Upon seeing the Priapus cameo, Dr. Gradel realized it was featured in an old gems catalog from the British Museum. This discovery left him confused and convinced that the eBay seller was indeed a thief. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
During an open-top bus parade celebrating Manchester City's 4th consecutive Premier League title win, midfielder Jack Grealish had a close call. As the bus began to move, Grealish nearly stumbled, but was fortunately assisted by teammate Jeremy Doku, who was nearby.
A deadly landslide in Papua New Guinea has sparked fears that thousands of people may be missing, according to a government agency. The acting director of the National Disaster Center stated in a letter that over 2,000 individuals were feared buried alive in the disaster that occurred on Friday. We have Philip reporting on this.
Rescue efforts have been hampered by deep rubble and a lack of adequate equipment, making it difficult to establish an exact casualty figure. So far, fewer than a dozen bodies have been recovered, while the United Nations estimates the number of missing at 670. The landslide, which occurred in Inga province, wiped out a village where approximately 3,800 people lived. The extent of the damage has been described as extensive, with significant impact on the country's economic lifeline. Prime Minister James Mara has extended condolences and mobilized the country's defense force and emergency agencies to the area, but locals in the affected village are still waiting for larger rescue operations. Many believe their family members are trapped under the debris, and they express frustration at the slow pace of rescue efforts. Despite challenges such as further rock slips and precarious conditions, soldiers and local residents are working to remove boulders and dig out those trapped under the rubble. Survivors have been pulled alive from the debris, offering hope amid the devastation. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Australian scientists have unearthed the remains of a peculiar creature they dubbed the Echidnapus, believed to have roamed Australia during prehistoric times. Fossilized fragments of the animal's jawbone were discovered in opal fields in northern New South Wales, alongside evidence of several other ancient and now extinct monotreme species. Officially named Opelios splendens, the newfound species has earned its nickname due to its resemblance to both the platypus and echidna, the only egg-laying mammals alive today. We have Patrick reporting on this.
Lead author Professor Tim Flannery likened the discovery to finding a whole new civilization, indicating that Australia once experienced an age of monotremes where these rare animals were abundant and dominant. The fossils, estimated to be around 100 million years old, were originally found by paleontologist Elizabeth Smith and her daughter Clyde about 25 years ago. The specimens were donated to the Australian Museum but remained forgotten until recently, when Professor Flannery stumbled upon them. Analysis of the fossils revealed evidence of 3 previously unknown species, including Opelios splendens, which had unique combinations of features never seen before in living or fossil monotremes. While Opelios splendens shares similarities with the platypus, its jaw and snout exhibit traits more akin to those of an echidna. According to Professor Chris Helgen from the Australian Museum Research Institute, the discovery sheds light on Australia's ancient past, suggesting that before the dominance of marsupials, the continent was inhabited by a variety of furry egg layers. Monotremes. Lightning Ridge, where the fossils were found, was once a cold, wet forest near a vast inland sea, and it appears to have been a hotspot for monotreme diversity during that era. However, some experts caution that further exploration is needed to determine the full extent of Australia's ancient monotreme population. Regardless, the authors of the study hope that their findings will inspire more targeted excavation efforts in the region, potentially uncovering additional insights into Australia's prehistoric biodiversity. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
A hospital in the Indian capital Delhi, where 7 babies died in a fire, was found to be operating without a valid license, according to police. The fire occurred on Saturday, resulting in the arrests of the hospital owner and the doctor on duty. An investigation revealed that the hospital lacked fire extinguishers and emergency exits. We have Lee reporting on this.
The tragedy unfolded hours after a fire erupted in a gaming arcade in Rajkot City, Gujarat state, claiming 27 lives. India frequently witnesses fires in residential and commercial buildings due to lax enforcement of safety regulations. The incident at the hospital in Delhi's Vivek Vihar neighborhood has sparked shock and outrage. According to Police Commissioner Shadara Surendra Chaudhary, the hospital's no objection certificate (NOC) had expired on March 31. A fire NOC, which confirms compliance with fire safety standards, is mandatory for hospital buildings exceeding a height of 15 meters, 49 feet. Chaudhary noted that the hospital was only permitted 5 beds, but had 10 installed. At the time of the fire, 12 newborn babies were in the hospital, 5 of whom are now receiving treatment at another facility. The police have arrested Dr. Naveen Kichi, the hospital director, and a doctor named Akash, who was on duty during the incident. They face charges of culpable homicide. Dr. Akash, it was revealed, was not qualified to provide intensive care to newborns. The Delhi government has initiated a magisterial inquiry into the matter. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Goh Chun Pong, the CEO of Singapore Airlines, has expressed gratitude to the airline's staff for their hard work following a turbulent flight incident that resulted in the death of a British passenger and injuries to many others. We have Michael reporting on this.
In a memo seen by the BBC, Mr. Goh acknowledged the immense challenges faced by everyone at Singapore Airlines over the past 5 days. The incident occurred on Flight SQ321 from London to Singapore, which diverted to Bangkok, Thailand, after encountering severe turbulence over the Indian Ocean on May 21. The Boeing B777ER aircraft was subsequently flown back to Singapore on Sunday. Mr. Goh's memo praised the agility, dedication, and teamwork displayed by the airline staff during the challenging period. He conveyed heartfelt thanks on behalf of the Singapore Airlines board and management team. The diversion to Bangkok occurred due to a medical emergency, with 211 passengers and 18 crew members on board. Sadly, 73-year-old Geoff Kitchen from Gloucestershire passed away from a suspected heart attack during the turbulence. Over 100 other individuals received medical treatment at a hospital in Bangkok. Passengers and crew who were not seriously injured were transported to Singapore the following day. The memo assured continued support for injured passengers and staff, noting that Mr. Goh had personally visited the hospital to offer assistance. In a video message, Mr. Goh extended his deepest condolences to Mr. Kitchen's family and apologized to all those affected by the incident. Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong also conveyed condolences and assured cooperation with Thai authorities in the investigation. Singapore's Transport Safety Investigation Bureau will conduct a thorough investigation into the incident. While accidents involving Singapore Airlines are rare, the carrier maintains a strong safety record, consistently ranking among the world's safest airlines. The last fatal accident occurred in 2000 when a Boeing 747 crashed while attempting to take off from the wrong runway at a Taiwan airport, resulting in 83 fatalities out of 179 passengers on board. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
Benedict Cumberbatch recently found himself in an unconventional situation while filming the Netflix thriller series Eric, when he had to jog around New York dressed as a 7-foot monster. Reflecting on the experience, he described it as one of the most ludicrous things he has ever done, adding, "It was fun though, and painfully funny." We have Owen reporting on this.
In Eric, Cumberbatch portrays Vincent, the troubled father of a 9-year-old boy who disappears on his way to school in 1980s New York City. Vincent, a somewhat charmless puppeteer and co-creator of the children's TV show Good Day Sunshine, becomes consumed with guilt and fixated on creating a real-life version of a monster his son imagined, named Eric, in hopes of finding his missing son. The series, penned by Albie Morgan, delves into psychological exploration with Eric representing Vincent's shadow self, according to Cumberbatch. Vincent's tumultuous past and emotional struggles contribute to his descent into chaos and destructive behavior. Cumberbatch explains that Vincent's upbringing, characterized by emotional neglect and a dismissive attitude towards mental health, significantly impacts his relationships and professional life, leading to the trauma that unfolds within his family dynamics. Through its intricate character exploration and tense storyline, Eric offers viewers a glimpse into the complexities of human psychology and the consequences of unresolved trauma. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Thanks for tuning in to World in 15 for your daily dose of news and updates. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on breaking stories and insightful analysis.